The ongoing critical and chaotic situation at the U.S. southern border, where, according to U.S. officials, many of the Haitian migrants who were camped out under that bridge in Del Rio, Texas, are being released into the United States, a reality that stands in stark contrast to the Biden administration's public statement that the thousands of migrants face immediate expulsion. ABC News' Kenneth Moton is in Texas with the latest on this large-scale operation.
This morning, the Biden administration facing a political battle on both sides over the border crisis and mass deportations in Del Rio, Texas.
We will get it under control.
Roughly 8,000 migrants, many Haitian, remaining under that Del Rio bridge waiting to be processed.
They have shown no capability of being able to process all of these migrants by the end of this week.
Thousands of migrants have already been sent back to their home countries. On Capitol Hill, top Democrats normally allied with the president, calling for a halt to the deportations.
I urge President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas to immediately put a stop to these expulsions. A horrible treatment of these innocent people who have come to the border must stop immediately.
And Republican senators grilling the Secretary of Homeland Security.
How many people have been returned? How many people are being detained? How many people have been dispersed to all points around America?
Senator, I would be pleased to provide you with that data.
I want them now. Why don't you have that information now?
Senator, I do not have that data.
Why not?
For me.
Why don't you have that basic information?
Senator, I want to be accurate.
Some migrant families are being allowed to remain in the U.S. New video showing dozens arriving at this Houston facility Tuesday. In Del Rio, the activists with the Haitian Bridge Alliance are working to help migrants.
People are coming to the U.S.-Mexico border because they are in need of protection, because they are dying, because they need support.
And Kara, as the Biden administration works to ramp up those mass deportation flights, we can tell you that the number of migrants under that Del Rio International Bridge, just behind this fence here, that number is dropping, but there are still thousands of men, women, and children, you mentioned it there, that are still waiting for help. The Biden administration is facing a political battle on both sides over this border crisis and the mass deportations in this community. You said it, roughly 8,000 migrants. Many Haitian remain under that bridge waiting to be processed. Thousands of migrants have already been sent back to their home countries. But on Capitol Hill in D.C., top Democrats normally allied with the president are calling for a halt to the deportations. The Secretary of Homeland Security, he was grilled on Capitol Hill about the numbers of apprehensions and other things. Some migrants are being allowed to remain here in the U.S. They are being moved around Texas. In fact, we saw that in Houston at a facility, there were some Haitian migrants from this Del Rio bridge that were being held there. We expect to see more of that. But again, a lot of mass deportation flights are still happening, and the Biden administration is working to ramp those up, Kira.
Kenneth Moton for us there in Del Rio. Kenneth, thanks so much. Well, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle that you're on. The Biden administration is now facing criticism over its response to the border crisis from both sides. Chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega with more now on how the White House is dealing with all this backlash. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, Kara, good morning to you. So the fact that you've got people like Chuck Schumer, the leading Democrat in the Senate, and other Democrats, frankly, publicly coming forward to criticize the administration and the president over their handling of what's happening at the border right now is a really big deal. And adding to that, you've now got the head of the NAACP demanding to meet with the president here at the White House. The administration, they're really boxed into a political corner on this one. You had President Biden campaigning on taking a more humanitarian approach to dealing with the southern border. He basically ran on being everything that Donald Trump isn't and wasn't when it comes to immigration. But the reality is this White House is using this same pandemic-era rule enacted by the Trump administration. They're using COVID as the reason to not allow these migrants to claim asylum here in the United States. And you've heard, frankly, the administration struggling to react and respond to some of these images that we've seen coming in, particularly with the Haitians there at the southern border. Initially, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas described this situation as chaotic, saying that these officers were using their horses, trying to control their horses, rather. Ultimately, you ended up having Mayorkas and other White House officials describe what they're seeing there now as horrific images. But, Kira, so far we haven't heard much from President Biden on this. I'm sure he'll be faced with questions on this today and in the coming days. The press secretary, Jen Psaki, says that he doesn't believe that these images reflect the position of this administration or, frankly, Kira, who we are as a country.
Cecilia Vega at the White House for us. Cecilia, thanks. There are so many questions surrounding the legal ramifications at the U.S. southern border right now. So we've asked immigration lawyer Latoya McBean-Pompey to join us for her perspective and analysis this morning. Latoya, good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Kira.
Look, let's get straight to the point. If everything is done correctly and by the book, what's the process for Haitians to actually seek asylum in the United States right now?
Well, the process is fairly, a simple one. At the core of our immigration system is the ability for a person to make an argument about why they're eligible for a benefit. And so the Haitian migrants, like everyone else who applies for a benefit, they need to be able to present their case to a border official about whether they're eligible or not for asylum. And if they're deemed eligible, if they have a credible fear of persecution, they will be allowed in to pursue their case before an immigration judge. Otherwise, they will be turned back.
So, Latoya, as you look at these pictures, which we are right now, the thousands of people living under that bridge, how do they even begin that process? How do they even know what to do? I mean, every day and night, they're just trying to survive right there, living in tents and on the side of the street and under that bridge.
Well, I think, Kira, it has to do with word of mouth, right? Misinformation, from what I understand, has been spread to this community, who many of whom have been living in South America and Central American countries for maybe more than 10 years since the devastating earthquake in Haiti in 2010. And so misinformation about whether they're able to get into the United States now, we're welcoming them, we're friendly to the Haitian community, they could come now. That information or misinformation has been spread to them. And so they found themselves, they're now on this journey to become, an American, so to speak.
So President Biden is using, I've covered a lot of presidencies, is using the Trump era policy called Title 42 to expel migrants without giving them an opportunity to apply for asylum first. So are there grounds for a legal challenge here? And if so, again, how do these thousands of individuals who don't have television sets or many of them cell phones to even look to how to get help?
Well, first of all, there are grounds to challenge the administration on what they're doing. And in fact, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which I'm a member of, has come out and publicly said that the Biden administration is clearly violating our asylum and humanitarian laws. Our laws simply say that if you're physically present in the United States or you appear or arrive at our border, you should be given an opportunity to seek or apply for asylum. And many of these individuals are not given that opportunity because they're being expelled, as you've said, under Title 42, which is a health code that we invoked last year at the start of the pandemic to quickly turn people around without giving them that opportunity to apply for asylum.
So even if they could do it, can immigration even handle the influx of these migrants that we are seeing right now as you look at the thousands of people under the bridge? How can immigration even assist all of them?
And that's the biggest challenge. It's an infrastructure problem, right? We weren't prepared for thousands of people to come to our borders at this time. We don't have enough agents at the border right now to interview folks. It's actually a problem that the Biden administration needs to figure out very quickly and rally as many resources as possible to deal with this crisis.
Latoya McBean-Pompey, thanks so much for your insight this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.